Welcome back, story makers. Sean Avery here with the next lesson in the Children's Book Council Make Your Own Storybook competition. This is a lesson to teach you how to write a build-up for a storybook. So if you're writing a storybook, keep on watching. Otherwise, if you're writing a picture book, links in the description down below, because there's a little bit of a difference in how you approach it. So what you should have up till now, you've got your story mountain, which has been filled out so you know all the parts of your story. You've come up with a great introduction where you've introduced your setting and your main character. Now, the build-up, just to refresh your memory, is about finding out more about your characters, adding details to the settings, and setting up clues that lead up to the problem or the conflict in your story, which is obviously the most exciting bit. Before I start writing my build-up for my story, which of course, as you know by now, is Happy as a Hog Out of Mud, about a warthog named Charlie who doesn't like playing in mud, I'm going to read you part of the build-up for Roald Dahl's The Enormous Crocodile, illustrated by Quentin Blake. And I'm going to jump forward a few pages. So the introduction, the crocodile was introduced and the muddy river where he lives in. So this part is when the enormous crocodile meets a hippopotamus, and the hippopotamus is named Humpy Rumpy. So the enormous crocodile swam to the side of the river and crawled out of the water. A gigantic creature was standing in the slimy, oozy mud on the riverbank. It was Humpy Rumpy the hippopotamus. "Hello, hello," said Humpy Rumpy. "Where on earth are you off to at this time of day?" "I have secret plans and clever tricks," said the crocodile. "Oh dear," said Humpy Rumpy. "I'll bet you're going to do something horrid." The enormous crocodile grinned at Humpy Rumpy and said, "I'm going to fill my empty tummy with something yummy, yummy, yummy." "What's so yummy?" asked Humpy Rumpy. "Try to guess," said the crocodile. "It's something that walks on 2 legs." "You don't mean," said Humpy Rumpy. "You don't really mean you're going to eat a little child?" "Of course I am," said the crocodile. "Oh, you horrid, greedy, grumptious brute," cried Humpy Rumpy. "I hope you get caught and cooked and turned into crocodile soup." The enormous crocodile laughed out loud at Humpy Rumpy. Then he waddled off into the jungle. Now, guys, this build-up gives us some clues about what's going to happen in the end. In the end, the enormous crocodile, he's about to eat a little child, and all these animals that he's met along the way, including Humpy Rumpy, come out to stop him. So this is sort of a clue to let you know that Humpy Rumpy the hippopotamus is going to be there to save the day later, and he disagrees with the way that the enormous crocodile always wants to eat children. So with that as my inspiration, I'm going to go over to my desk and I'm going to write my build-up for my story. Let's do this. Okay, guys, so this little sheet over here, as usual, the template can be found in the description down below. Now, this is our build-up checklist over here. These are the things that we need to do to have a successful build-up for our story. Number 1, we need to make sure that we tell our audience, our reader, one new thing about our character. Number 2, we need to tell our audience one new thing about our setting. We need to make sure that we include a clue that's gonna sort of lead up to the conflict or the problem later. As usual, we want to show, not tell, so you don't have to overly describe things. You can sort of hint. You can hint at what's going on and let your reader sort of fill in the gaps. And of course, writing with our senses. What can we see? What do our characters feel? What do we feel? And what do we hear? Right. Let's get started with our build-up. Now, I'm just looking at my structure here. We need to make sure that we talk about Charlie doing his fancy things. The warthogs are constantly trying to get Charlie to play in the mud with them, and Charlie gets a bit annoyed that they keep on asking. So let's begin. Okay, we are done our build-up, or at least the first draft of our build-up for our story, for my story. So it says, Charlie's friends and family didn't understand his strange desire to remain mud-free. Come build a mud castle, Charlie, they'd say. No, Charlie would say. Mudslides, Charlie? No. Mud cake, Charlie? No. Mud fight, Charlie? No, no, no. They didn't understand it at all. Charlie would make sure to set up his lawn chair far from the edge of the muddy bank where the hogs splashed and slopped about. That way, his books and suit stayed clean and mud-free. I want to add one more sentence to this just to kind of lead into the conflict or the top of Story Mountain. Unfortunately for Charlie, one day he didn't set up his chair far enough away. Okay, now let's go through our checklist and highlight all of the things that we need to make sure we've got in our story. Okay, one new thing about Charlie. Well, the new thing about Charlie is that he would always make sure to set up his chair far away from the messy hogs. One new thing about him. Something new about the setting. Okay, so there's not too much extra described in the setting, but we do say that there's obviously the muddy bank, and we can show with the pictures that he sets up a bit further away from them. So there we go. One new thing about the setting. One clue for later. Well, our clue is obviously that he didn't set his chair up far enough away. And another clue is that he's obviously getting quite frustrated with the hogs continuously asking him to come and play in the mud. And he goes, no, no, no. So there we go. That's one clue to show that he's getting a bit fed up. Show, don't tell. Well, the way he goes, no, 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 sort of demonstrates his frustration without us having to write down and over-explain that he's feeling frustrated. What can we see? We can see where Charlie is. We describe where Charlie sets up his chair. How does he feel? A bit of frustration, and a little bit of frustration on his part, and a bit of confusion on the hog's part. And what can we hear? Well, there's a bit of dialogue here. They're obviously, really desperate for Charlie to come and join them, and there's a lot of no's and I don't want to is being said. So we'll mark that off. And that's it, guys. We have got all the important parts of a build-up, and we are ready to move on to the next part of Story Mountain, which is our conflict. So, homework. Make sure you're reading some great picture books and storybooks. Make sure that you have completed your first draft of your build-up. Happy creating, guys.